adhere to. In fact, when we go out there and we seek candidates to run for public office, we should seek those candidates from the bottom up, from our committees up, not a top-down thing where we need certain things from the top down and we go and we pick people to run for us. We need I saw this work perfectly just about in the town of Wilbraham. They have a partisan town there. None of this nonpartisan stuff. Nonpartisan business is like no-fault divorce. Once you had enough of it, the family is going to fail. Just like nonpartisan elections, the Republican Party is failing. Okay, we're talking about a lot of things, and as we walk along, it's just words going under our feet. Nothing's getting done. We need people to work hard. We need to have people commit to us to get things done, and ask them for the hard work, but we need to appreciate them as well. So when we go out and look for candidates, I think we could run as many candidates as we can handle, as long as the local cities and towns are there to support it. I've been there. I know what it takes to support a candidate for public office. I've been a candidate who wasn't supported. Let me just tell you about the last election I ran. And these are just facts. This is not a chip on my shoulder. This is just the plain facts. Okay? 93 cities and towns in western Massachusetts, district number 8 for governor's council. Does everybody here know what a governor's council does? There's 8 seats. It's a position, I guess the Republicans don't want it, because all 8 seats are Democrats. And I was the sole Republican running for the governor's council in 08. And I ran in 06. We made improvements from 06 to 08. Okay? We won 6 cities and towns. I won 3 towns with Obama and 3 towns with McCain. We could get our candidates to capture that formula, we could probably have some great success. Okay? It's very important to support your candidates. And if the candidate's not supported, I raised $5,000 with my small team. We got 31% of the vote in western Massachusetts. We did just as well or better than other regional or statewide candidates who had a hell of a lot more money than I had, okay, my team had. And we got little support from the hierarchy, from the structure. We did get support from individuals on the committee, and I thank them for that. We got some help from some town and city committees, and I thank them for that. But from the regional GOP and from the statewide GOP, we got virtually no help. And I've run enough times to realize not to expect it. Okay? So if you're a candidate and you want to be a candidate, I think you should start right in your city or town and talk to those people. If you don't have a ward, forget about becoming a candidate. Organize the ward first, then become a candidate. And I want to get back to partisan elections very quickly. Wilbraham, Massachusetts, partisan town. They sit in an auditorium at a middle school, and they recruit dog catchers, assessors, school committee people, city committee people right there. They have a room full of Republicans, and they say, who wants to run? And they run as Republicans. They're not ashamed to run as Republicans. We can't beat the Democrats at their game, okay? We can't be more liberal than Democrats. We can't take the turf that Democrats have. They have our government. They have all the quasi-government agencies, and they have everything. All we can do is be Republicans, have an established foundation of principles, and adhere to it the best that we can. Right? I personally am a pro-life guy, pro-traditional marriage. If candidates are running, and they're not like I am, you know, harder to the right on some social issues, that's fine. But you know what I would like happen is that they articulate the fact that they're pro-choice as a Republican. I think that's wrong. It goes against our grain. If you are pro-choice, like Carrie Healy was, then I would suggest you don't say anything. Just keep quiet. I like Carrie Healy a whole lot. I would have supported her a whole lot more if she had not come out and said, I'm just like Deval Patrick on these issues. I'm pro-choice, I'm liberal this way, and I'm liberal that way. Okay? I would have supported her more, but I couldn't. Okay? So that's what happens when you're a Republican. We could take advantage of some value voters, people who have strong values who are just waiting for good Republican candidates to outmaneuver the Democrats who come on the scene and fake that they're pro-life for one election, and then they go back to being a liberal Democrat. That's about all I have. I'll put a smile on now, and I'll take some of your questions.
What was your Republican message in an economically disadvantaged city like Holyoke?
And when I ran for governor's council, I ran for state
rep
and all.
It sounded like you were involved earlier than that.
Right. In the ward, I ran for state rep.
To boost club membership, to get the Republican word out.
Right.
How did you do that?
The first thing I did is I ran for state rep. I was at Westover Air Reserve Base on a Friday. I was in uniform. I was doing my job as an executive officer, and I was flipping through the paper just before lunch, and it listed out all the unopposed state rep incumbents throughout the whole state. And by golly, my rep in Holyoke, which is District 5, was unopposed, a Democrat, a young man, happens to be a nice guy, actually more Republican than some Republicans. A strong family, Irish Democrat family in Holyoke, and I said, that can't be, you know, he can't run unopposed. I was involved politically before this, but not into the political nature, the committees and the candidacies and all that. I was involved in a nonprofit organization, the state chairman for an organization for 5 years, trying to change laws and government and so forth, and advocating for families and people having a hard time with government. I did have some experience. When I was sitting there in uniform reading that paper, and I saw that gentleman unopposed, I said, it can't happen. And I went to the City Hall, and I'll get to your question, City Hall during lunch, pulled papers, and within 4 days we were on the ballot, by the deadline, and then we ran. And Holyoke is like Brockton, you know, Lowell, Lawrence. It's a very economically deprived town. There's high teen pregnancy. There's a lot of juvenile delinquency. There's a lot of drug stuff. I work in downtown Holyoke as a veteran service agent. I'm down there in the day. My economic plan was a revitalization of Holyoke for small businesses with fair tax rates and so forth, with some business district sectors in downtown. And I opened up a downtown office. We raised $22,000 for this campaign, and I spent a lot of it in the downtown office. While my opponent had an office given to him free of charge at the Soldiers' Home in Holyoke, in the basement next to the morgue. So we looked at that. We looked at public privatization of government departments and so forth. We have a Department of Works that had trees growing on its roof, because in government, if you get 50% efficiencies, you're doing pretty darn good. Where I work, we have 2 janitors in the building. One does a pretty fair job, and he looks busy doing it all day long. The other one works very hard not to work at all, creating a lot of problems, anarchy. He may go on disability, we'll see. But it's a 50-50 shot in government. We have to hold our government accountable, and if there's an opportunity for public-private partnerships, I think that might be a good thing, because you get a business. We brought a business in, United Ways, to work with us, because we're polluting the Connecticut River, to take over the operation of our Department of Public Works and our sewage treatment plant, and all these CSOs, combined sewage outlets, that go into the Connecticut River. Okay? This is part of being green. Here we are dumping 500